Welcome back to Living Our American Dream, everybody. Today's video, we're going to revisit the Flail mower. So if you follow this channel, a little while ago, I got an old Flail mower that I wanted to try out just because I like trying out old attachments for tractors. And I was a little bit disappointed in the way it performed because I cut this field right here and it kind of bogged down a little bit. Well, I've made a few adjustments to that and it cuts a lot better. And this is, I guess, chalk this up to me, learning about the attachment. But I wanted to also explain to you guys why I cut this field. So behind me here, you see this beautiful field of flowers right here. I really hate to get rid of this. It's really pretty this time of year. All the pollinators are out kind of doing their thing. But if you look down right here, right in front of us here, you'll see this little guy right here. This is Canadian thistle, or some sort of thistle. And out through, in these flowers and out through this field is actually covered with this stuff. And what I like to do is cut this field a couple times a year before this can seed out. Now by doing that, my hope and intention is to keep the thistle from seeding out, because if it seeds out, it's going to get a lot worse. So right now we're going to walk over to a section of this field and I'm going to show you what it looks like if it gets a lot worse. So let's go take a look at that. So this isn't that worst section that I was talking about, but if you look right here, this is what we're trying to prevent. When the thistle plants get about this high right here, this is going to seed out. When that seeds out, the whole area becomes thistle. So let's go take a look at that area that I was talking about. The top of this hill right next to the pond is an area that I kind of let get out of control, and it seeded out several times, and you can see there's almost no grass growing in here. It's almost 100% thistle on the top of this. So I'm gonna need to do some sort of a chemical treatment up here to get this under control, but at least I can not let it seed out anymore and get any worse. So that's our intention. Let's go get the Flail mower on, see what it can do. All right, so before we hook this thing on, a couple things that I changed from that original video. You saw the modification for the quick hitch. This is clutch. I highly recommend the quick hitch for your tractor. Next thing that I had to do was a modification was pretty much all over here. And it wasn't a modification as much as an adjustment. So this is your belt tensioning wheel on here. And this belt was not nearly tight enough. Okay, so I pulled this cover off and I realized that this thing was kind of flopping, not really flopping loose, but way too loose, okay? So I went to adjust this and the bolt was rusted and it wouldn't work. So I had to take it apart. You can see on the other side, I have a new bolt in there. So with this tightened, it functioned much, much better. Now, the key that really made the difference for me is I wanted this to not be as clumpy when I cut as the rotary cutter, the brush hog. And this had a big thick piece of rubber that came off the back of this and went down. So when you cut, all of those clippings would get caught there and they would kind of clump over, and it wasn't as much better as I thought it should be. So I've removed that rubber. So I know what some of you guys are going to say. You're going to say that was for safety, that was to keep things from flying out the back. You are 100% correct. But this thing cuts and lays the clippings out perfectly even across everything, exactly how I like. And I'm really not operating by any people or any buildings or vehicles or any of that stuff. So I'm really not worried about this thing flinging something out. I'm not, operating on a roadway or anything like that. So
just your wife has to watch out.
Yeah, she's got to stand clear when we're videoing is about all, but we know that. So anyhow, we're going to hook this thing up and I'm going to show you all these changes and how good it works. Things that I had to do when I did this quick hitch is I had to use a longer power takeoff shaft because my offset from the gearbox to the tractor is a little bit longer. Not a big deal for me. I have this lawnmower behind me that has an extended shaft because that gearbox sits a long ways back too. But I wanted to mention one thing. When I did the video on the quick hitch, I had a lot of people telling me how it's a waste of time and it doesn't work very well. can tell you right now, seeing that clip of me hooking this on, it took me all of about 10 seconds to back up to this thing and hook it on. I would have spent several minutes messing with that. Probably pinch fingers, adjust the tractor. I'm telling you, it's worth it. Quick hitch is worth it. Okay, so in 2 passes going around the field right here, just kind of following the trail, you guys got an idea of what this thing looks like without this rubber piece on the back. So I would say that's probably the biggest change. The belt tension is pretty obvious, right? So it just doesn't bog down when I hit the grass now. And the biggest thing about the belt is I can go in medium gear now and I can actually move right along at a good pace, where before, when it started to get cutting in that grass, the belt would slip. And I could tell the belt was slipping because I could hear it bog down, but my engine RPMs on my tractor never slowed down, or nothing ever happened on the tractor. So the tack on the tractor stayed and I could hear it wind down in the back, which told me that this thing was bogging down and that belt was slipping. So yeah, the way that it lays this grass, the clippings out here like this, evenly across the whole path here, that's what I was looking for. Before, I had just big piles of clumps that would just clump together and make a big pile. So it just made the field look bad. And I don't know, I'll be honest, I think looks is part of this thing, right? I want this to look good when I cut it too. So anyway, I'm gonna fire this back up and see if I can finish cutting this side here, and you guys take a peek at that. And that's probably gonna do it for this video. This is the key things that I wanted to show you guys, is the flail mower, and give you a little bit of a reason as to why I cut this a couple times a year. Okay, so I got this field done, and I gotta say, the flail mower finally works how I expected and anticipated and hoped it would work. So if you come down here close one more time, I know I showed this earlier, but the clippings being on top, I think is exactly what I wanted. As this stuff dries out and the other grass pokes up through it, it's just gonna grow up like this, and this stuff will kind of sink down through here. There's not gonna be any clumps. This time that I mowed, I did notice that the clumps from last time were kind of bogging up the mower just a little bit. But I think over time, as I continue to mow with this mower like this, it's just going to get better and better. And obviously you can see behind me, personally I think it leaves a lot better finish than the rotary cutter did. So I guess in conclusion, if you try one of these flail mowers, especially one of these older ones, make sure that all of the adjustments are made appropriately before you start, and I guess before you judge the thing like I did. I was a little disappointed at first, but now I couldn't be happier with the performance of it. So that's gonna do it for this video. I appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you on the next one.